Thanks for joining me. We are going to jump right into the career of the legendary Leland Sklar, one of the best session musicians ever. Let's take a look. In the 1960s, Leland Sklar was in numerous bands, including Mike and the Madmen, the Percolators, the Comfortable Charros, the Brimstones, the Eldorados. Sometimes he was in 5 bands at one time. Wow. Doing all kinds of music, trying to find himself. The Brimstones, 1966, are a note because Sklar played together with guitarist Dan Dugmore, his oldest friend in the music business. Sklar has commented that the music business is based on networking. He tried to meet as many people as possible, worked really hard, and hoped for the best. 2 other bands from this period were important to his career: Group Therapy, 1967, and Wolfgang, 1969. In 1967, Group Therapy had been signed to the Canterbury label, which went into United Studios in Hollywood to record. However, the young musicians were so inexperienced that they weren't allowed to play their instruments. The band at the time consisted of David Feiner, vocals, rhythm guitar, Jeff Feiner, vocals, Greg Wood, vocals, Lee Sklar, bass and vocals. Lee, I did not know you sang. Did not know that. And Ira Ingber, lead guitar, brother of Elliot Ingber, founding member of the Mothers of Invention and Fraternity of Man. The group did do their own vocals, but the music was recorded by the legendary Wrecking Crew. Imagine that, Wrecking Crew. I've heard of them. Carol Kay and Bobby West were on bass. Hal Blaine was on drums. Jim Gordon was a percussionist. Mike Rubini, Mike Melvoin, and Larry Netchell were the keyboard players. Mike Deasy, Dennis Budimer, Al Casey, Tommy Tedesco were on guitars. Sklar said he was intimidated by the skill of these players and didn't believe he could do what they did. But 3.5 years later, he was working with them every day. At least 4 tracks were cut: Magic in the Air, Bad News, Little Bird, and $1 Million Movie. Test pressings were made of the latter 2 songs, but never released. A single of Magic in the Air as the A-side and Bad News as the B-side was released and broke into Billboard Hot 100. Affording Group Therapy the opportunity to open for the Byrds, and Canned Heat at the Anaheim Convention Center, and for the Seas at Cal State Northridge. The tracks were introduced by Mike Post. It was through his connection that Sklar would later work with Post on every one of his TV shows: Rockford Files, Magnum P.I., Hill Street Blues, A-Team, just to name a few. Wow, I didn't know he did that. Those intro jingles, I didn't know that. 1969, Leland was the bass player for the hard rock band managed by Bill Graham called Wolfgang, consisting of Bren Hayworth, Ricky Lancelotti, Kevin Kelly, Randy Zacuto, and Warren Bugs Pemberton. They opened for Led Zeppelin, but their only recordings were unreleased demo tracks. It was during this time Sklar met James Taylor, friend of Wolfgang's drummer, Bugs Pemberton. John Fishbach, co-owner of Crystal Sound on Vine Street in Hollywood, brought his friend James Taylor around to Wolfgang's rehearsal house in Sunland. Taylor spent a couple of days with the band. Later, Taylor was offered an appearance at the Troubadour, and remembering Sklar, asked his manager, Peter Asher, to invite Sklar to play bass at that show. Both musicians thought the work would be short-term, but Taylor's career took off soon after that with his first hit record, Sweet Baby James. Kind of like a barbecue sauce, ain't it? Sklar became part of Taylor's backing band along with Danny Kochmar, Russ Kunkel, and Carole King, all joining Taylor in his rise to fame. Soon with that exposure, Sklar was being asked to record with many other artists. You can believe that. Leland Sklar has attributed his meteoric rise in his career from an obscure local musician to a noted in-demand player to producer-musician Peter Asher's insistence on crediting the musicians on the albums he produced. From his first recording with James Taylor on Mudslide Slim and Blue Horizon in 1971, Leland has said that many of the burgeoning singer-songwriters looked to the musicians to help propel Taylor to fame as worth engaging for their own efforts. Asher's crediting practice also marketed a profound transition from the relative obscurity of members of the Wrecking Crew era to the next generation of high-profile named performers. In the 1970s, Sklar worked together so frequently with drummer Russ Kunkel, guitarist Danny Kochmar, and keyboardist Craig Dorge, who replaced King after her rise to fame, that they became the Section, a distinction Taylor had bestowed upon them as his rhythm section. They backed other artists such as Jackson Browne. The Section recorded 3 rock fusion albums of their own under that name. In 1972, 73, and 77, with little label support, however, the Section disbanded in 1978 in favor of the more lucrative individual endeavors. Yeah, well, imagine that. In the 1980s, Sklar focused on session work in Los Angeles, Nashville, and Europe. Wow, Europe. However, with the advent of CDs and digital copying, album revenue dropped as session budgets shrank. Live performances and touring became more important to the music industry. I believe that. Sklar worked on the Phil Collins album No Jacket Required and toured as part of Collins' band on the No Jacket Required World Tour from February through July 1985. Sklar worked again with Collins on the album, but Seriously, in 1989 and toured with Seriously Live World Tour, which ran between February and October 1990, covering 121 dates. Sklar toured again with Collins on the first Final Farewell Tour, 2004 to 2005, and the Non Dead Yet Tour, 2017 and 2019. In 1993, while recording at the site in Marin County on what would become Linda Ronstadt's album Winter Light, Sklar got a phone call from the Michael Frondelli, who ran Capitol Record Studios and was producing a band, the Barefoot Servants. They were looking for a bass player and asked if he would be interested. Frondelli sent Sklar a demo cassette, and after 3 notes, Sklar said, "Count me in." All right. Sklar had never met the 3 other seasoned musicians before. John Butcher on guitar, vocals, Ben Schultz, guitar, mandolin, slide guitar, Ray Brinker, drums, percussion. The foursome rehearsed and cut the first self-titled album, Barefoot Servants, live in the studio. The band followed by going on the Southern Spirit Tour in 1994 with the Marshall Tucker Band, 38 Special, the Fabulous Thunderbirds, and the Outlaws. They called it Bubba Palooza. Oh, that's kind of a weird name. Over time, the Barefoot Servants became the cult band. The label, Epic, offered little support. 11 years after their first album, Barefoot Servants recorded a second album at Ben Schultz's home studio, this time with Neil Wilkinson on drums. They called it Barefoot Servants 2, reminiscent of the line from the Bob Dylan song All Along the Watchtower. John Butcher is a great admirer of Jimi Hendrix. The album was released in August 2005 on the Atom Records label. Sklar also performed again with James Taylor, Carole King, Danny Korchmar, and Russell Kunkel in a series of 6 shows at the Troubadour on November 28th, 29th, 30th, 2007 for the 50th anniversary of the club. They all teamed up again for the Troubadour Reunion Tour in 2010. Sklar did the Falling in Between tour with Toto 2007-2008, filling in for his friend Mike Porcaro, who was stricken with ALS. That was bad. Sklar united again with Toto in 2016-2017 on the Toto 14 tour. I think that's 14. Sklar also toured with Lyle Lovett, Peter Asher, Veronique Sanson, Tracy Chapman, Van Dyke Parks, and Judith Owen, among others. In 2018, reuniting several members of the section, a new group was formed, The Immediate Family, with Leland Sklar on bass, Russ Kunkel on drums, Danny Korchmar, and Waddy Watchell on guitars and vocals, and musician-producer Steve Postel on vocals and guitar. The group has toured Japan and released a number of recordings. Their first eponymously titled U.S. album, The Immediate Family, was released in 2021. A brief tour of select cities in the United States was conducted in November 2021. In 2020, while idled by the COVID pandemic, Sklar started a YouTube channel, which I watch. I watch it all the time. Initially to demonstrate the bass parts to a few songs he played on tour with Phil Collins, but which grew exponentially into a journey of music appreciation and exploration of his expansive career. Sklar also created a coffee table book, Everybody Loves Me, and approximately 6,000 photos from a collection of over 12,000 images of celebrities and common folk giving him the finger, which has become his signature gesture. A website to service his book, art prints, t-shirts, and other merchandise was developed. He created a web presence for social interaction called Lee's Clubhouse. Sklar has also explored the NFT market with another site. On May 6, 2020, Sklar created a top 10 list of his favorite songs of all time for Spotify. They were, with a little help from my friends, performed by Joe Cocker, Back in the High Life Again, Steve Winwood, Mill Worker by James Taylor, The Lark Ascending by Ralph Vaughan Williams, The Rubber Band Man, Spinners. Oh, I like that song. The title track from the album, No Other, by Gene Clark, Knock on Wood by Eddie Floyd, Behind the Lines, 2015, remastered by Phil Collins, by Major Lance, and Harlem Shuffle by Bob and Earl. Sklar stated that his favorite bassist was Renat Ibragimov, formerly of the London Symphony Orchestra. Sklar has also been a part of the annual bands assembled in support of the We Write the Songs event sponsored by ASCAP in the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C., and the pre-show for the Grammy Awards. On January 2nd, 2022, Sklar was seen performing in concert with James Taylor and Carole King in the CNN documentary Just Call Out My Name. On April 28th, 2026, Leland Sklar was inducted into the Musicians Hall of Fame in Nashville, along with a number of other musicians as Keith Urban, Dolly Parton, George Thorogood, and the Destroyers. Imagine that. Wow, what a career this man has had. Absolutely incredible. So there we have it in a nutshell. Leland Sklar, to me, an extraordinary legend. I watch his YouTube channel, and you should too. You should watch his YouTube channel. And I hope you enjoyed this. I sure did. I like checking stuff out like this. And any other suggestions, hey, let me know. I'll be glad to do it. And you guys, leave me some comments. Let me know what you think about Leland's career. Wow, one heck of a milestone. I will say that. Anyway, like, subscribe, and share. I do appreciate that. And look forward to doing more. See you in the next one. Have a great day. See ya.